Our guest today is Dr. David Brunner, founder and chief executive officer at ModuleQ. David earned a PhD in information, technology and management from a joint Harvard program and is an enthusiast of Japanese gardens, fluent in Japanese, having visited Japan over 100 times. His passion for organization theory and corporate governance even led him to teach an economics seminar at Harvard titled Unnatural Persons, the company in historical and social context. ModuleQ is making waves with its innovative Unprompted AI, which powers AI alerts for the London Stock Exchange Group. As a pioneer in the Microsoft Teams platform, ModuleQ was a featured partner at the launch of Microsoft Teams back in March 2017. This remote-first company boasts a diverse team spread from Zurich to Tokyo and Canada to Costa Rica. Even though his compass was broken, David had his North Star. Let's hear how he learned to navigate stormy startup seas. Here's David.
Can you imagine a world where you go to work every day only to be monitored and micromanaged by AI? Reduced to a cog in the machine, checking your humanity at the door, nothing to look forward to except maybe the possibility that AI automates you out of your role entirely? Reading the news, maybe it doesn't actually seem that hard to imagine. Maybe it even seems inevitable. That's why I've never been able to give up on my startup, ModuleQ, even when things seemed completely hopeless. Let me tell you the story. When I started my company, I had just finished my PhD. I had no startup experience to speak of, just an intense determination to create software that would help professionals work smarter. And I had a vision that if software is going to help you achieve your goals, first it has to understand your goals. The problem with business software is that it doesn't have any awareness of your context. Your email app doesn't know who the people you are that you're emailing or why you're emailing them. Your calendar app and your spreadsheet app don't know anything about the projects you're managing, the deals you're trying to close, your quarterly objectives, much less your longer-term career aspirations. I founded ModuleQ to fill the gap, to be the company that understands your work. In the world of consumer technology, there are companies that have built software that understands the music you love, the books you read, the movies you watch, the friendships you value, the products you buy. But understanding work is harder, because instead of millions of consumers, even billions, with relatively homogeneous behavior patterns, there are thousands of industries and professions, each with very specific needs and priorities. Unfortunately, having prepared for an academic career at the intersection of AI and organization theory, I had an abstract vision for how to transform business software, but I didn't know where to start. I couldn't point to any specific problems that my product would solve or quantify the total addressable market or the ROI that our customers could expect from our technology. One VC told me, "You seem to have a technology in search of a problem. We prefer to invest in startups that have already identified a valuable problem to solve." Another VC just looked at me skeptically and said, "You're not an entrepreneur, you're a researcher. Go back to the ivory tower and write papers." It was true. I had a vision for a business context engine that would unlock the potential of human AI collaboration, but it wasn't clear how such an engine would actually solve any real-world problems, so the VCs wouldn't fund me. I was frustrated. And to make matters worse, the enterprise software market was, and actually still is, a very tough game. At that time, around 2012, investors didn't want to fund enterprise software businesses because of the long capital-intensive sales cycles. I went to a successful enterprise entrepreneur for advice. He told me that the enterprise software market was hopelessly broken. His advice? Don't start an enterprise software company in the first place. I thought about giving up, but I was haunted by that vision of us humans being reduced to cogs in the machine. If investors would not fund new human-centered paradigms for business software, how can we humans avoid that fate? At the same time, I was confident that if our AI could really understand your work, we'd be able to figure out the high-value use cases and applications. So I launched the company anyway, with funding from a government small business innovation research grant, not often used in Silicon Valley, and angel investors willing to bet on my vision. My next challenge was the product. I soon learned that my academic training had not prepared me to build a product. When one advisor told me, "You need a product manager," I asked, "What's a product manager?" The first iteration of our product was a total disaster. Complicated, unintuitive, and didn't create any real value for end users. Some of my friends who I convinced to test it for me were apologetic, but honest. It was kind of interesting. They didn't really get it. They certainly wouldn't use it. I showed the product to the chairman of a major internet company, and he spotted the flaw immediately. "Do you know what the hardest thing in the world is?" he asked me. I was stumped. "Changing people's behavior," he said. If creating software that understands your work means that it has to force you to change the way that you work, then my vision would be doomed to failure. So we pivoted, we threw out all the code, and we started over, with a much simpler design. The second iteration of the product was better, but it still required too much behavior change, and it didn't solve a sufficiently clear and painful problem for our users. So it failed, and my CTO quit on my birthday, in fact. The investor whom I had lined up told me that he was backing out, and we were literally days away from running out of money. The situation seemed pretty hopeless. But the feedback from our test users was different now. They didn't stay engaged, the product wasn't going to succeed, but they were genuinely intrigued, and I had seen their eyes light up when the software oriented itself in the first few seconds to their work context and showed them that it actually understood their priorities. In an ocean of business applications that don't care about you as a user and that don't understand anything about your context, here was software that cared. Here was software that was following along with you to help you achieve your goals. It was a glimpse of something magical. So, literally hours before an emergency board meeting that I had called to shut down the company, I crafted a memo to my prospective investor, explaining what we had learned from our failure and how we would get it right on the third try. I gave him 8 hours to reconsider. I'm sure he had his doubts, but he agreed to go ahead with the investment. And I think it was because he was himself an entrepreneur with a North Star. He was committed to supporting deep tech innovation to improve the human condition. And that vision, that mission, was more important to him than short-term returns. He knew that I had a similar sense of mission and depth of commitment, so he bet on me. We took our lessons learned seriously. Most importantly, we had learned that nobody wanted our app. In fact, they didn't want any new app. They already had too many apps. So we threw out the app. In fact, we threw out all of our code again and started over. We focused on the simplest possible use case, sending our users just-in-time updates about important news related to their most important priorities. We delivered these alerts in the simplest, most effortless way possible, an AI agent that messages you through the collaboration tools you already use, tapping you on the shoulder virtually where you already do your work. We narrowed our focus to a specific use case: financial professionals who need to follow the pulse of their clients in coverage areas. And we built a white label distribution partnership with the London Stock Exchange Group, a market leader, to force ourselves to build a mature, enterprise-grade product and facilitate adoption by large financial institutions. Last year, I got to watch as the global head of an investment bank started using our software. Within seconds, our Unprompted AI algorithms learned his context and guessed his clients and relationships that were top of mind for him that very moment. It's amazing what this is doing, he said. His eyes lit up. Now, his team of senior bankers use our AI every day. The engagement metrics are comparable to leading social media platforms. And the bankers that use the AI the most frequently are actually substantially more productive. Finally, proof that my ivory tower theory was right. Building ModuleQ has been an extraordinarily difficult journey. My belief that the world needs a human-centered AI company is what has sustained me and guided me through the storms along the way. But more importantly, I think, it's that North Star that has enabled me to forge the partnerships that have made the journey possible in the first place. With investors, with the London Stock Exchange Group, with my brilliant co-founder, who's here today, and other outstanding team members. I couldn't have done it alone. Thank you.